Still the same.
Stand by. Now it says we're streaming. Nothing?
No, just refreshed.
All right, everybody, can you hear me? We are live here. We're good to go. All right, thanks for joining us for the image comp and ShutterFest. And so for me, I felt like we needed to do this or something like it just because of the pure panic of entering image competition and am I worthy enough? I suck. I hope everybody's nice to me. Please don't say mean things. So I just figured this would be better. So for all of you watching out there, maybe you're image competition veterans, whether you've done print comp or digital competition, or the newbie who's never entered a competition and you're scared to death. I think this will be a good video to watch and just kind of get my mindset on what I think of image competition and most importantly, how I think you can get the most out of it. And so let's just start way back in the beginning. First of all, what I want everyone out there to understand, whether you're a 20-year vet or you've just been doing this for a couple of months, everyone starts somewhere. So I want you to hear what I'm saying one more time. Everyone starts somewhere. We all do. We all start at sucky, and our entire life journey, or shitty, and our entire life journey is to get better every single day. And so I can look at my own work, and funny, I'm saying this and I'm remembering this in real time. In our studio last week, one of our albums, which was one of the very first weddings I had ever shot, popped up. We were going through storage and cleaning out storage, and I definitely had my balls busted for a good 20 minutes about the difference in my work back then and my work today. And when I say the difference, I'm using a nice word. They were not being nice to me. But it's a journey, right? Getting better as an artist is a journey. You do not arrive there day one. And make no mistake, we all are in that same boat. Today, even today, I look at other photographers' work and I'm like, oh my God, I suck. And we've all had that moment where we feel that. And so put that on the table, right? Or shelf that, if you will, and understand that the image competition, the goal of that for me is to get to that next level. My ultimate goal is to take my work to that next level every single year. I still to this day enter in an image competition every single year. I'm going to WPPI in a couple of weeks, and I've entered a boatload of images in their competition. There was one in London, and I entered in their competition. I just want to get better. I want to push myself. I want to challenge myself every day. All right, that being said, let's get to this. Some housekeeping items. For those of you watching on YouTube, I already see that many of you, there's a way there, Lenny, to chat on YouTube. As well as if you can't figure out the chat on YouTube, don't worry about it. Lenny will be going back and forth to the ShutterFest page if you're watching there, and we will check that link. There's a pinned post talking about this. If you're not watching live, my apologies. We're not going to be able to really get to those questions as much as I'd like to. So I'm going to try and cover everything here. All right. So the first question, should I enter? Yes, you absolutely should enter. We've made tremendous improvements this year. Last year, we had the deadline roughly 4 days before the event started. And of course, everyone waited till the last possible minute to enter, and we didn't have enough judges, and it spilled over into, weeks after the event. We got through everybody's images, but everybody wants to see that live. So this year, we've added a third room for image competition, and of course, we've added almost 6 or 7 more judges to be able to handle all those images. So I feel pretty good about it, but we'll see. All the image competition will be recorded. And again, we have a dedicated video editor who will get, the goal is to get those videos online within a week or max 2 weeks after the event, because I know you're all anxious to see how your image got critiqued. So this is a good thing. Now, when it comes down to getting those images, what images should you put in? That's what I want to talk to you about, because there's a lot of confusion about what you should enter and shouldn't enter. And hey, ultimately it's your artwork. And so in the spirit of all that, you've got to enter images that you feel represent your art, your photography. And then you want to hear what the judges have to say about that. And if you take that feedback to heart. Don't make it personal, right? It's never personal, but really pay attention to what they're saying about your images, because this is how I've gotten better over the years. In the beginning, truthfully, my first image competition, I'll never forget, it was a local one here in St. Louis. I left that competition wanting to take a garbage can and put it through someone's windshield. I mean, I was so angry, so frustrated. And then, it's hot-headed Italian. And then I stepped back from it, really listened to what they had to say about it. And the next year I improved. And I've been doing that for the last 9 years, guys. So for 9 years I've done it, and I envision doing it for the next 9 years. That's my ultimate goal. So what I want to do, any questions so far? All right. Remember, if you have questions, there's a built-in chat on the YouTube channel. Log in, chat that way. And if you're watching and you want to go into the Facebook group, there's a pinned post. Enter your questions there. All right. So initially, you'll see when you're entering, there's, if we can cut to the screen, I sent you guys the PPA 12 Elements of a Merit Image. And, I went to judging school through the PPA. PPA is an incredible organization. No matter what you think about them, maybe you think, well, they're old school, and whatever the case may be, it's an organization that's been here forever. And in the spirit of that, when it comes to competition, I think they do a really good job of it. And again, I went to judge school there, as did many of our judges. That's where you go and you understand the 12 elements to a meriting image. That being said, a lot of those elements we use and incorporate into our image competition. So I'm not hiding it. I'm not lying about it. I think it's a strong foundation. And so I want to give PPA props when it comes to stuff like that. And so let me tell you some of the things that matter. First and foremost, impact. So when you're looking through your images, you've got a lot of questions to ask yourself. Is this good enough? Is always the first one. Well, table that for a second. Objectively go through this. Does it have impact? Well, what would be an image that has impact? I'll tell you a story. Think about it like shock and awe, right? So the more impact you can have when a judge sees that image for the first time, the better it's going to be for your image. In fact, I've watched judges, right? I can't tell you how every judge will score. They all have their own interpretation of the rules. But I can tell you that I've watched judges, when it comes to impact, what ends up happening for them is, if it's something they've never seen before or done in a very unique way, or an emotion, right? Maybe it's a bride crying. Maybe it's a mother crying as she watches her daughter come down the aisle. Those images are going to have impact. Versus an image of a bride and groom just standing there, smiling, looking at the camera. There's no impact there. There's no story there, right? That looks like more of a snapshot. It becomes very cliche. I would say don't submit images like that. Look for images that have a little more impact. A bride and groom looking at a camera is typically not high in impact. And so let's look at a couple of images here. And you can follow along, right? That link's on our website. Right, so when we're looking at impact, let's look at a shot like this. Okay, so an image like this is, is this one locked? You seeing that? The image?
I'm lagged.
Yeah, but who are you looking at, me or the image?
I see you.
Okay. I thought that one was hot.
I'm still behind. So.
All right, hold on. I'm waiting. I want to make sure you guys are seeing the image.
This is the program.
Okay.
I'm doing this now.
Gotcha.
This
All right.
popped up.
Sorry for the delay.
Now it's there.
Okay, so when we're looking at an image like this, okay, there's impact to it. You may like the image, you may hate the image, you may think it's the shittiest image you've ever looked at, but there's impact behind the image. It's different. She's doing something different. She's in a very unique location. The dress is very different. These are the kind of things that will lend to what I would call impact of an image. Now, don't look at something like this, right? This is not a wedding image. This would be more of a commercial image. Don't look at an image like this and be like, oh my God, I knew it. I'm horrible. I can't. Guys, each image is judged individually. They're not compared one image to another. And again, this is the only way you get better. And so they're looking at all these types of things. So hopefully this is making sense. The next thing you want to look at is technical excellence. And so technical excellence, if I read the definition here, is the print quality of the image itself. Now, we all understand this is a digital image competition, so the print quality not in play on something like this, but the retouching, the manipulation, the sharpness, the exposure. So for example, when it comes to technical excellence, here's something I can tell you that would almost always hurt your image. If you blow out all your highlight details. So last year at image competition, we saw a bunch of this come in through. You're immediately not going to score. So if you're looking at the judging chart, right, and 80 or above, you're going to merit, right? You're going to win our Vision Award. And so that becomes an image of excellence, right? PPA calls it their own thing. WPPI calls it their own thing. We call it a Vision Award. You're going to merit, you're going to win a Vision Award if you get 80 or above. However, if you blow out all your highlights or add so much darkness to your images that you end up cutting all the black, right? We call it muddying up the blacks, where you can't see any black detail. So for example, if you were looking at something like this and you lose all the detail in the groom's, obviously we're talking bride and groom right now, but the groom's blacks on his tuxedo, that image is not gonna score because it's below professional quality. A professional is going to be able to balance that exposure. You've got to be able to get that exposure. And the part here to understand is you control all this for the most part. You can do this in post-production. So in post-production, you can lift those shadows. You can bring back, now, obviously if you blow out your sky by 3 stops, you're not bringing that detail back. But these are certain things, there are certain things you can do to control that. Questions so far?
Just other judges PPA certified. I've been through judging school. You addressed that. Will Sal be covering what each of the entry categories are and what type of photo should go in what category?
So the question came up, will I be covering each individual category? I feel like the categories are pretty self-explanatory. So if there's, whoever has that question, if you're trying to understand what those are, Dave.
Esslinger.
Dave, if you've got that question, you got to give me a little more clarity because, creative landscape, to me is pretty straightforward. Landscape. Portrait children, straightforward. Engagements, family, high school seniors. So if you've got a little bit more specific, I know I saw a lot of questions come up about boudoir. That's the beauty category. So glamour, beauty, boudoir, that goes into that beauty category. And it doesn't even have to be true boudoir, right? It can be a beauty shot. If we see enough entries in that category, over time we may create another category that's a little bit more specific. But the way the category is right now, I would put all those images into the beauty boudoir.
He said yes, creative versus the others. I'm not really sure.
So Dave, the feedback I'm getting is creative versus the others. Again, don't know how to help you. Just, again, a commercial image is pretty straightforward, fashion, landscape, but I'm not gonna arm wrestle you into taking a fashion image and not necessarily putting into a general portrait category. That's on you to decide what you wanna see go in there. But it is a good question. I think I'll add maybe a little bit more detail online about what goes into those categories just to remove any kind of confusion. But for the most part, let what your gut tells you, put it in that category. I'll expand on it a little, but again, you shouldn't be putting a bride into the children category. I think some of those, we can all agree, are very, very straightforward. And so hopefully that helps. Any other questions?
Yeah, so I think somebody was trying to clarify that. I think more about what is commercial versus what constitutes fashion.
Well, so let's go that route. Let's talk about commercial versus fashion. We'll bring up my screen here. An image like this, I would make the argument, could be both commercial and fashion. This one could go into either category. Now, WPPI did a really good job this year. The commercial category is meant for paid work. And so I would say if you have paid work and it's been featured in a magazine, that's probably something that would go into the commercial category. Whereas if not, I would probably put it into fashion. So something like this, I'm not entering our own competition. Maybe next year. The first 2 years, I didn't want to enter, so it bums me out because the awards this year are pretty badass. If I were entering our competition, I would put this in the fashion category. That's where this would go. And so hopefully that's making sense. So more questions?
Yeah.
All right.
Jody Kelly, if we have entered a picture in another competition, can we enter it here in ShutterFest?
Of course. So the question is if we've entered an image in another competition, can we enter it here in ShutterFest? Absolutely. I typically enter my images into multiple competitions. There's no limit as to how many competitions you can enter it into. what you're looking to do is some of these images that you might see here today, I've actually not shown anywhere, because what I'm looking to do is ensure that my images have impact for the judges. Granted, I have a little bit more exposure than the average person. So if I start using my images in marketing and advertising and social media, all of a sudden the judge gets to image competition and they're like, I've seen this image 5 times and I don't want that to happen. So I've held back on a lot of my images this year for that very reason. So after March, you might see a lot of my images start coming out in other areas. So yes, short answer, Jody, you can enter in multiple competitions.
Tanya wants to know about time frame, any photo I've ever taken or from the past year.
Good question. Can you write some of this stuff down, somebody?
I have it.
Okay. So yes, you want these images to be fairly current. So I would say in the last 2 years, not something that you've taken in your entire lifetime. It should be representative of your work in the last 24 months. Great question.
Is there any place where we can see the photos that merited last year?
Yes, if you log, the only way you're going to see what merited is they were in both Shutter Magazine, if I remember correctly. And if you log in and you were in last year's competition, you can log into your account. And I also believe it's on the Behind the Shutter blog.
Yeah, it's just the top 3 per category.
Right. So we can't show you, we have no place to see every single merited image. You're only going to see the top 3 in each category, and that would be on the Behind the Shutter site, as well as if you log in and you entered last year, you would actually be able to watch all the videos and see all the images that actually merited, but nothing on our site. We're only going to show the top, the winners or top 3 in each category.
Can we use, Cassie wants to know, can we use images taken during a ShutterFest class last year? Mainly asking about classes where another photographer speaker equipment was not used, but model and outfit was obviously by the speaker.
So the question came up, can we use images that were taken at last year's ShutterFest, et cetera, et cetera? There's going to be a lot of variables to this answer, so bear with me for a second. The short answer is no. That goes for almost every image competition in the world. For image competition, you have to be the maker of the image. Being the maker of the image does not mean you just walked by, clicked a shot, and moved on. Being the maker of an image means you're the one who directed it, possibly styled it. You don't necessarily have to be stylized, but the point is you're the one directing the shot. If you're working and another photographer, let's say you're at one of my workshops, okay, and I'm the one directing the workshop and I'm the one directing the model, you cannot use that image in competition, any competition. They all have that rule, and that rule's listed on our website. Now, here's the caveat. Let's say you went off at ShutterFest all on your own, grabbed a model, grabbed an outfit, and went off at night and made your own image. Perfectly fine to use in the competition. But if there's 10 of you taking a picture where the instructor's directing it, you unfortunately did not make that image. You are a happy bystander sitting there and got to click and use that image for your portfolio. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to competition, you have to be the creator and maker of that image. So hopefully that makes sense. Very good question. All right, so let's keep going. When it comes back to technical excellence, I'm hoping this makes sense. And I'm just going to give you feedback. Last year, there was an image that came through, and I was part of judging it. And the maker of the image, I'm not going to name their name or show the image, but the maker of the image did a really bad job of Photoshop. So bad that they were cloning out a garbage can in the background of the image, and the garbage can was in front of a bunch of trees. And when they cloned the garbage can out, you could actually see the tree not connected and how bad of a clone job it was. You could see it clearly. That's part of technical excellence. And so you've got to think about stuff like this when you're submitting your images. You don't have, if I'm in your shoes, WPPI, I submitted over 20 different images because I want to see what's scoring, what does well, what doesn't do well. Yeah, I'm willing to invest that money. WPPI is a hell of a lot more expensive than our image competition. I'm willing to make that investment in my career because that's how I've gotten better year in and year out. And by the way, I'll be at WPPI, sitting in that room, listening to my images, one after the other get judged, cringing as some of my images come up, and they give me a 70, which is below average, right? I just want to, it makes you mad, but it's how you get better. And so at a minimum, you should be submitting 2 to 4 images. I've seen plenty of people submitting 10 images already. That's what you should be trying to do. Look at your work, submit, come back next year, get better. And the cool part about this is, this year, if you're sitting in the room on Monday, you're going to hear all that feedback. Now you've got Tuesday and Wednesday to go out and shoot with models and fix the very thing you were doing wrong. That is how you should take some of this feedback. Let's go through some of this stuff. So number 3 on PPA would be creativity. Okay? So when it comes to creativity, when you just have a bride and groom looking at camera, that's not overly creative, right? That becomes something that's very stale, very stagnant, been there, done that, seen it before. And so you've got to be careful, right? If you're going to try and do something, think a little bit outside the box. Look for a different expression, a different pose. And so let's come up and bring up a few of my images here. And so an image like this, okay, this was taken in the Salt Flats of Utah. You've got a sunset in the background, off-camera flash. One of the things we're going to talk about here, okay, is the pose, for example. And so the pose is not new, okay? So you can do a pose that's been done before. I'm not suggesting that everything you do has to be brand new. I mean, a lot of the things we do as photographers, I mean, somebody's done it somewhere, right? It's not all new and it's and exciting. Some of it is, and it'll score very well on impact. However, if you're going to go back to maybe a traditional pose or something like that, do it right, okay? So the key here becomes making sure that with these poses, you're doing things that are right. And so let's look at an image. Let's see here. Yeah, maybe this is good. So an image like this, okay, is, notice we're going for a silhouette, right? And so from a silhouette perspective, there's a lot of things we're doing right here. I have no idea how this is going to score. This is the first time I'm showing this image. Okay, so from a silhouette perspective, there's a lot of things we're doing right. Notice where the highlight is of the image. It's right behind her head because your eye is going to go to the brightest spot on the image. So my eye is going to go right to her. I've even got a little bit of flair there. There's a little bit of creativity. Her body is leaning forward as if she's moving forward. There's implied motion. She's walking. The veil is pulled away from her body. She's again leaning forward. Here's the little thing that goes a long way with an image like this. Her arms are pulled away from her body. If we did not create separation of her arms from her body, she would look like one giant blob in her upper body. The judges would nail me on something like that. They may still nail me. They may not love this image, but I want you to be in my mind and understand what I'm looking for to have that, all these things come to matter. Your lighting, your center of interest, where's my eye going, your composition, your leading lines, all leading you to her. Let's look at a couple of other ones here. And I hope you guys can see this particular image. Yeah, it's going to be tiny. Now, it's going to be dark on your screens because this is meant for image comp. And so I don't know if you can see all the detail. What I can tell you is in the actual printed image, none of the highlights have been lost and none of the shadows have been lost. And here is, she's walking up the staircase, a spiral staircase, an interesting composition, not your typical composition, right? So she's in the third, walking up those stairs, pushed into the front third, walking into the front side of the frame. Not your typical composition that you would expect to see. So what am I trying to accomplish here? I'm trying to accomplish impact. I want to show the judges possibly something they've never seen before, or a new way of looking at something that's possibly been done before, right? So now you're starting to understand the impact, the creativity, and the style behind it. The technical excellence, at a certain point, all of you should get to where it's a non-issue. Editing is a controllable piece of what we do. You have control over whether you submit an image which has highlights blown. You have a control over an image if it's that's been submitted with the shadow detail completely muddied up. This is stuff you have control over. However, at the time of edit, when it comes to impact and creativity, that's being done at the time of creation, right? So I took time and I thought about an image like this. Let's look at another one. Okay? So this is something for all of you who have shot at Union Station at ShutterFest. This was made there. This is a real bride on a real wedding day. And so let's think about this for a second, and let's think about the impact of an image like this, okay? Or the creativity of an impact of an image like this, and the center of it, the point of interest in an image like this. Where is the brightest spot on this image? All of you should be saying the dress, right? You should be looking right to that dress. Now look at this and understand that floor. There's light all over the floor, but we're using dodging and burning techniques to drive us to that bride who is dancing. There's motion. You can actually see the motion blur in her dress. This moment really happened. So we went there on her wedding day. It was like 105 degrees here in St. Louis. And I'm like, we're heading to Union Station. Let's do some cool stuff. And so this is the kind of stuff that we did. It's a bride dancing and celebrating on her wedding day. Again, there's impact there, okay? There's leading lines. She's in the third. She's in the bottom third, okay? And she's in the right-hand third. So this is the kind of stuff that we are looking for when it comes to that. Questions so far?
Yeah. Larry Sachs regarding the dark image we were just talking about. If an image shows dark on the screen, how do we convey it properly? Like the image Sal just showed that has no details in blacks because it's dark. Maybe explain you're printing it dark because how they look at them.
Right. So Larry's asking a great question. How do we convey that message if it's dark on a screen, blah, blah, blah? It's going to be, you have to remember the images I'm showing you right now have been edited for print. So if you're submitting a digital competition, which later in the year I might enter more digital competitions, those images have to be adjusted for the screens. And that's the part you have to understand. Look at it on your screen. Make sure your screen has been calibrated. You can get calibration tools for 50 to 90 bucks online. The only time you're going to really need that true calibration tool is if you're going super dark or super bright, because you want to make sure that you're not losing any of that detail. But your histogram will also help you as well. Looking at that in Lightroom in the top right-hand corner, you can see that. Are you crushing shadow detail? Are you crushing or are you blowing out highlight details? But remember, this has been edited for print. In the world of print competition, this image is being put on a stand with bright lights being shined on it to look at. So what I do for this kind of competition is I print it and I have the exact specifications that the judges are looking at these images under, sitting right up at my desk upstairs. I print it, I put it under that. If it's too dark, I print it again, put it under that, and adjust until it's perfect. That's the world we live in, man. This is a big deal for me. Being part of image competition is a big, big deal because it forces you to hone and sharpen your skills as an artist. Great question. That's it? All right, let's look at a couple of more images in here. I want you to take a look at these. If you're watching today, I want you to commit, even if you're scared to death, I want you to commit to entering minimum of 2 images to image competition, minimum. If you feel like you've got the chops and you've got some good stuff, put more in there. It's $25. We're not talking about like it's life savings. This is how you're going to get better. Don't come to ShutterFest and spend $2,000 on a new lens, but not be working on the betterment of your skill set. That doesn't make any sense, right? Don't spend $2,000, but go cheap on $25. It doesn't make sense. This competition is not this huge profit center for us. This competition, right, is about getting better as an artist. It's the core and essence of what ShutterFest represents. And I think this is a great way for you guys to improve. So check out those PPA. Right, the 12 merits. Obviously, when it comes to printing excellence, this is going to be a digital competition. Understand what you're trying to accomplish. Tell a story, okay, of the day. Don't just pose a bride and groom. Here, let me show you another image. This is a high school senior, and this is going to be really dark on your screen as well. So bear with me. This is a high school senior. Okay, now I can tell you it's one of those trust me moments. I can tell you that under the lights, right? Remember, this was edited for actual print. Under the lights, all the detail in the ceiling is visible. All the detail in the foreground is visible. But yeah, I'm going to get rid of this image because it's going to create chaos for you guys. Stand by.
Do you want to show? Are you showing anything that has scored?
Sure, we can show. Let me show you images from last year that have scored. So here's an image of a bride and groom. This won an award last year. Okay, you can see, right? It's different. It's got impact. It's architecturally built, and then you've got a bride and groom in the bottom third, in the center. You've got the building, right? So these are the kind of things that will have impact. Here's another image that scored. This was shot here in St. Louis. Beautiful silhouette, beautiful sun flare, beautiful sky behind them. Now this didn't score. So this is an image I shot of a couple in the back of a cab, and this was shot in the rear view mirror back into them. Didn't score. Still a great image. It's still one I would use in my portfolio. I believe it scored like a 78, right? Where 80 would have been, an award winner. And you just got to take the, roll with it and take the feedback they give you and go with it. Let's see here. This is one that scored. And some of these you guys have seen. This is a good one to look at. So here's an image of a real bride and groom. Okay, this is not a model or a couple. It's a real bride and groom. And what I love about this, if you're catching it, is all the geometry in the particular image and everything leading you down to that bottom right-hand corner. The leading lines in a shot like this are just incredible, right? All driving you right to them in that bottom right-hand corner. And so those are the kind of images that I'm looking to create. And this journey that started with images like that, here, let's go here. Here, this is a real couple as well. This particular image scored. And so this journey that started just like all of you. Year one, entering, getting that feedback, doing something with it, coming back year two, entering again, taking that feedback, improving. And so this is the kind of stuff that I think will allow you to get better as an artist. So if there's no more questions, I hope this helps. More questions? All right, let's hear the questions.
Evolve.
Let's hear it.
Edits.
Yeah.
They want to know if it's edited by Evolve, SIG edits, Sky Swap.
All right, so the question is if it's Evolve edits. As much as I would love to let you use Evolve to submit your images, which you can, by the way. Evolve can edit your images and they can be submitted. What cannot be done is a Sky Swap done by Evolve. And let me explain that. Every part of that image has to be created by you to be considered your image. So if Evolve did a Sky Swap for you, dropped in a new sky, and you didn't shoot that sky, meaning it's stock art or another photographer shot it, it's not your image, guys. I hate to break it to you. And so unfortunately, you won't be able to use that image in competition. If you want to have that image re-edited and bring in a sky that you shot, feel free to do that. We can re-edit that for you because I've seen a lot of your images, and there are a lot of strong images from you that are signature edits, and they're drop dead gorgeous, and they will more than likely score, but they're not going to score. And by the way, that goes for WPPI and PPA. They hold the same rules. Every competition requires the same thing, that you are the maker of the image, and you can't just go out and buy stock photo and submit it. So I got news for you. What I do is I take my phone with me, and if I see a good sky, I actually shoot it with my phone sometimes. And believe it or not, it's good enough resolution that depending on the edit that they're producing for me, they can use what's come off my iPhone. And so you need to consider things like that. You have a camera in your hands at all time. Shoot skies. When you're on a wedding day, shoot extra skies. We do it all the time because the reason I do it is because I don't want my skies to look like your skies. And so if you need help, obviously that's what Evolve is here for. They're going to do it for you, mostly for your sales and your clients, right? We want you guys to make money. But when it comes to competition, you gotta get that there. Now they can edit the image, right? It just has to be all your elements in the image. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's get a couple more questions.
If I've bought 2 entries already, can I buy more?
Of course. So if you bought 2 entries already and you want to add more, just log into your account. You should be able to add more. If you cannot, let me know. I know last year there was a little bit of a hiccup with it, but I'm under the impression we fixed it. So you should be able to go in and add more entries. In fact, we should test that as soon as we get off this. But either way, let us know.
You talked about prepping for print competitions. How are the judges viewing digital files for this competition?
Good question. So how will the judges be viewing files for this competition? The judges will be viewing the files in a dark room on color calibrated monitors that we use for Evolve and editing. So everything is completely calibrated. We are in a dark room. Each of the judges are looking at these on IMAX, again, that have been calibrated. So good question. If you have a calibrated monitor, you're probably going to be in good shape.
How are critiques going to be presented if we missed a lot of judging?
If you miss the live judging, how will critique be presented? What will happen is if you miss the live judging, no worries. It's being completely recorded. All 3 rooms are being recorded, and those rooms will be recorded. And within 2 weeks, that's my goal, to have that completely edited and posted. So where you enter the competition, you'll log right back into your account, and you'll be able to see the critique right there. You'll hit play, and each category will have its own video. Next question. That's it? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that helps. Get into competition. This is a great way to start. It's a great way to improve your skills. Do not wait past the deadline. Yes, you can buy your entry and then upload your images at a later date. So take advantage of the $25 entry fee. Do not miss out on this. It is a no-brainer. Get better. There's great prizes to make it even worth your while. And let's have some fun, man. We are only a short few weeks away from ShutterFest, and I'm excited this year to see everybody and to reunite with my family, so to speak. So we'll see you guys soon.